Well, this is a very auspicious occasion, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. It was absolutely perfect for the presentation today. And then the music that just played beautifully before this brought us, hopefully, into a beautiful, divine, relaxed space. So your only job today is to relax and allow yourself to absorb the energy transmission that's going to come through the talk today. There'll be a lot of information, and you're not expected to understand it all at all, but there will be elements of it that will trigger things inside you. So being very much in your body and very aware of how your body is reacting to what I say will be very, very significant. And in the introduction, it was mentioned the connection between astrology, numerology, and gene keys. And that is absolutely what I'm involved in and what we're going to be talking about today. The only additional thing that I would add is our connection to Mother Earth herself. It's really important to know and realize that Mother Earth is taking over the future of this planet. So forget about the politics, forget about all the stuff that's happening in the world today. She is taking over. And some of you may be aware of something called the Schumann resonance, which is the natural heartbeat of Mother Earth. And it has been raising up to a much higher frequency. So she is actually in charge of that currently. You may be feeling some agitation inside at times as that frequency rises. But we're also being bombarded by the most powerful solar ejections coming through the sun that we've ever experienced. So we are being compressed from below and from above into our diamond selves. So there's nothing to worry about, but it's important for us to really honor our physical body and to nurture and support in kindness of all of the elements that are shifting inside of us. We are being transformed from Homo sapiens into Homo luminous. We are putting on our light body, and it's a big challenge to shift into that new energy. So we really need to nurture ourselves and support ourselves in this way. And when you can spend time out in nature, in beautiful sacred spots, amongst the trees, along the river, along the ocean, near to water, very, very important to be fully grounded in your body. Now, I was really delighted to be invited to speak today because this is probably the most significant weekend of the year. And it's because of two major events that have just taken place early on Saturday morning when we had the partial solar eclipse, and very early this morning, I think about 7 o'clock your time, was an absolutely huge event, which I'll come back to in a moment. So I'm going to talk a bit of astrology first to give you an insight. And again, you don't need to understand all of this, but just to give you the background information of what is taking place on the planet right now. And I'm going to take you back to the total lunar eclipse 2 weeks ago. It was a south node total eclipse, which means it was about the past, and it was in Pisces. So this energy was about letting go, as the introduction said earlier, of everything in your life that is no longer serving your needs. And this includes our relationships with other people. Some people are going to dissolve out of your life, and we need to let them go with good grace. We are looking into our situation in our lives and what is complete and done with and over. Our own identity, shedding the old habits that are no longer serving us. So this is a massive letting go. And to support that, there's a lineup of planets in the last 5 degrees of Pisces. So that total lunar eclipse was inviting us to do this. At the same time, Mercury and Venus are in retrograde motion, which means they're moving backwards relative to the Earth. They started that journey in the first few degrees of Aries, and now they're moving back into Pisces. So it's almost as if they missed something that needed to be cleared and released. Venus is about our personal values, our relationships, and our money. And Mercury is about our thinking, our mind. So we're being asked to re-evaluate all of that. And one of the sticking points is our egoic mind that wants to hang on to the old familiar ways. And so this is another aspect that we need to really look deeply into to let that go, set ourselves free. So then we went into the equinox, and the equinox just a week ago is when the sun crosses the equator and everything is in perfect balance and harmony. Now this year it was the midpoint between the eclipses. So we had the lunar eclipse letting go before the equinox. Then the equinox brings us into this harmonious balance when everything is perfectly balanced. And then just on early Saturday morning, we had the partial solar eclipse, which was in Aries, which is the first sign. So what we're looking at here is the end of the old, in fact, the end of the age of Pisces, and stepping into the brand new, into the sign of Aries. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Aries is the first sign. So this was a completion of all the old energies, stepping into a brand new, fresh start, a blank canvas for you to paint exactly what you want for yourself in the future without any restrictions whatsoever. Looking at the greatest desire you have for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for the community, and for the earth itself. And so then we stepped through that equinox energy a week ago into this solar eclipse on Saturday morning, which was at 9 degrees of Aries. So this was this fresh beginning, this fresh start for you to focus yourself in this new direction that you're now heading. It's like beginning the fool's journey in the tarot. You start out and you head off. And I loved the introduction because there were key words mentioned. One was authenticity. What the Gene Keys does is enable us to find that true, authentic self without any interference from anyone else. And those expectations that were mentioned, that we no longer are fulfilling other people's expectations of us. It appears to be somewhat selfish, and it is, because right now everybody is having to make a choice of which direction they're going to go in the future. Some people will decide to stay with the familiar and what they think brings them safety and security, although it doesn't. And others are poised to step through a threshold into the unknown. And Richard Rudd, who is the genius behind the Gene Keys, would say that the future is going to be beyond our belief. He knows that because when he had his first spontaneous awakening experience back in 1996, he had a 3-day experience where he was completely and totally connected with spirit. He was in the energy of Christ consciousness. And he had this remarkable experience a second time when he was a little bit older, he was more mature. And in this second time, he stayed in his study for 3 days and 3 nights. And that was when the Gene Key transmission came through him. And what he's been saying in the last few months is what he experienced in those 2 ecstatic, bliss-filled experiences is what's being made available for us now if we choose to step through that threshold into the unknown. And that can be a bit scary because you're shedding all the old stuff and stepping into the new you. And it's almost as if you are shedding and dissolving away the old you and stepping into the new you. And that's why the Gene Keys is so potent and powerful and wonderful, because it provides for you this background structure that will enable you to manage your way through this magnificent change that is taking place on the planet. Then the second event took place just this morning at 7 o'clock your time, which was another remarkable timing for this event this weekend. And that was the planet Uranus has been in Pisces since 2011 and has been tracking through to the last degree of Pisces, 29th degree, which is the final degree of that old energy. And just this morning, Neptune crossed what's called the world axis, stepping out of Pisces into Aries. It's a very slow moving planet. So it has not been in Aries for 165 years. And it made that step this morning. So now Neptune is beginning a whole new 165-year journey. Well, when you look back 165 years, you go back to 1860. And in 1860 was when Abraham Lincoln became the president. It was the American Civil War, and it was the end of the black slave trade. But another really interesting fact of that 10-year decade, during that time, was when America bought Alaska from the Russians. So you can see how there was a massive expansion of the United States at that time. And it's interesting that, me being Canadian, that your president is talking about taking our country at this time. It's an interesting repeat, and it's going to be interesting to see what actually does happen. But what we are moving into is the new age of Aquarius, and it's the movement away from those patriarchal, egoic, masculine energies that do not serve the greater need of the people. And the Aquarian age is all about power to the people. So what we're going to see shift over this next period of time is a return to the people being responsible for themselves. The government will support the people in their endeavors. And this is about going back to the land and connecting deeply with Mother Earth. That is what this is moving towards. So you could not be involved in a more powerful day in your life this year than today. So if you haven't already done so, I really strongly advise you, and it's not too late, after we've finished today, later today if you can get out into nature, that would be even better, and really make some clear, conscious decision to let go of all that old stuff that's no longer serving you. A lot of people are decluttering their space, their minds, and opening to this much more simplified life to come, connecting deeply in our own hearts with those people closest to us and with the earth itself. So this is the energy that we're now engaged in. And as I said, we work with the gene keys to assist us on this process. The reason I work with the gene keys is the safest way to reach enlightenment in this lifetime that I have experienced after 40, 50 years of doing spiritual study work. So it means that you can use this very solid, grounded process to guide you into your highest expression of your divine self. So I hope we can now share that screen of the profile. Can that come up? And can we bring it up to the third page? Whoever's controlling that. Okay, there we are. Okay, so this is a gene key profile, which you can get from your date of birth, location, and time on the genekeys.com website, free profile. And you can plug in your birth information to find this particular profile, which is your genetic makeup. Now, it appears like a bunch of numbers on a page, but actually it is your internal genetic makeup. There are 64 gene keys that make you up. And so what this demonstrates to you are the most significant gene keys in your profile that would require you to work through the energies at 3 different levels. There is a shadow level frequency, which are the energies that keep us blocked. They are the energies that, as a result of our genetic heritage from our parents when we were conceived, they are the different traumas or incidents that took place in our life that keep us locked down, and the way in which we get triggered in our lives. But this shows you clearly what you need to do to remove those blockages and those situations. That's called the shadow frequency. Then when you clear the shadow frequency, you move into the gift frequency, which now means that you are flowing through your life with ease and grace. You will still have moments of challenge. Stuff happens in life, but now you'll know how to manage your own reaction to those circumstances. And so you start moving through this process of transmuting and transforming the shadows and moving into the gift frequency. Then there's a third level, which is called the Siddhi frequency. Siddhi is a Sanskrit word, which is basically a divine essence. And that is the third level of the profile. And you can't make your way into the Siddhis. The Siddhis descend upon you when it's time. So what you're doing is preparing yourself, your vessel, to receive that higher frequency, which you might call Great Spirit, you might call God. It's when you come into unity with all that is. And each one of the gene keys has its own aspect of that divine frequency. So what we are doing then in the gene key process is navigating our way through the shadows, living in the gifts. And if we're really blessed, like Richard, we'll have that download of the highest possible frequency that we can. So from the Gene Key website, you can find the profile for any day that you choose to. So most people will use it to find their birth date, to look into their own genetic makeup. What I do is I use it for all sorts of different reasons. So here, this particular profile, I decided to get for the solar eclipse, which took place very early on Saturday morning. I am 2 hours behind you. So it took place at 3:58 a.m. on Saturday morning. So for you, it was at 5:58, around about 6 o'clock in the morning. So this was the position of certain planets in the sky when that solar eclipse took place. So I'm just going to go quickly through the way in which the profile works. You'll see there are 4 outer spheres which are green in color. That's called your activation sequence. And these 2 here are the way in which you show yourself to the world. This is your outer you. Then these 2 over here are the inner you. This is your unconscious. So these are the 2 that are most difficult to access because they are deeply buried inside you. So it takes some work to get down to these 2 gene keys. Then we go from the green into the pink, and the pink are the so-called Venus sequence. And now this is a measure of your attraction sphere. These are all the people you attract into your life to show you what you need to learn about yourself. And then the SQ, EQ, and the IQ is your childhood development. So the SQ is the first 7 years of life when you first came into a physical body. And this is how you incarnated into physical form. You're not seeing my arrow, sorry, okay? So I'm just looking at the SQ in the center, the 30.4. And that is your first 7 years of life when you first came into life and you're forming a physical vehicle during this time. Then the EQ, the 62.3, is your emotional body developing when you're the age 8 to 14. So this is that time when we're going through pulling away from our nuclear family, connecting more to friends, excuse me. So it's now about our peer relationships, and we're going through puberty. So it's this challenging time of, can I cope with what's coming next? And I don't know what it is. And that's in the EQ. Then the IQ is when your mental body develops. This is the age 15 to 21. So the gene key and the line number, the number after the decimal point, gives you clear indicators of what's going on in your life. And it blows me away every session I have at how accurate it is. So I know that certain things happened, but I didn't know what they were specifically. But when the person is having their session with me, they will know what I'm talking about just by the way I ask those questions. And it's quite remarkable how it works. And what it does, it takes the emotional charge out of what happened, because you now know it was meant to happen to show you something you needed to see to evolve, so long as you don't get trapped in that lower energy frequency. Then the vocation is the most important gene key of them all in terms of healing wounds, because it is the 56.6 in this case, and that is your ancestral core wound. This is the moment of your conception when imprinted in your DNA was the ancestral wound of your ancestors. And it's not your wound, but you're carrying it in you. And so part of the journey that we're on here is to clear that wound so we are not being influenced by it, but that our family lineage can also be healed when we do that work to heal that wound. So that is called the Venus sequence, and that's the deepest and most profound aspect of the gene keys. And then from there, you move up into the top four spheres, which are the blue ones. And this is now how you bring all of that learning back out into the world in the way in which you operate in the world. And so now then you bring this back out into the way in which you're going to be in the future, having done this inner work. Now, the number after the decimal point refers to the chakras in the body. So the line 1 is the root chakra, the line 2 is the sacral, the line 3 is the solar plexus, the line 4 is the heart, the line 5 is the throat, and the line 6 are both chakras in the head. And this is the sort of flavor through which you work through this process. Now, obviously, I'm not going to have time to go through the whole process with you. So let me just focus on the gene key at the very top, which is the 17.6. And just give me an opportunity to show you how it works through one particular gene key. So your life's work is what you are here to be out in your world, the way in which you operate in the world. It's line 6, which are the chakras in the head. So this is your bigger vision of life and the way in which you want your life to work out. It requires patience because the line 6 has to go through all 6 lines to get to the top line before it gets it. So this is about the integration of your spiritual life and your practical day-to-day life. And that's the 6th line, the point 6. Now, the 17th gene key is amazing that we had this 17th gene key for this solar eclipse, because the 17th gene key, you'll see the shadow, is opinion. And that opinion means that you get stuck in seeing all the flaws in life. And it leads you to believe that life is limited, and it leads to pessimism. And when you look at what's happening in the world today, it's very easy to drop into that lower level energy of pessimism through seeing the flaws. It's the dominant masculine mind that only sees the negative, and it believes that's all there is. It's actually to do with the shutting down of the third eye. So what we need to do in the gift of farsightedness is open that vision up to see the full vista of life. And people with this gene key have the ability to see into the future. So getting a little bit woo-woo, my experience of this gene key is people who have this gene key have 3 different ways of seeing into the future. One of them is through lucid dreaming. Well, they'll have a crystal clear dream and then it will happen in their lives. The second one is the more intuitive knowing, a gut instinct that something is going to happen and then it does. And the third is pattern recognition, where you can see inevitably how a pattern is going to work out. Now, remember, this was the gene key of the solar eclipse on Saturday morning. So this is inviting you to see the bigger picture, to see the whole energy of what is taking place and not be limited by what appears to be happening in the world. And this is then about the opening of the third eye. And because it's about farsightedness, it means that you can actually see what's coming down the road in your life. You can take yourself today and connect it to your future self and bring your future self back to you so you can see that path that you're inevitably going to take. And the city of omniscience is all-knowing. This means then that you, in any one particular moment, just know all that there is to know in that moment. You are all-knowing. So it goes from this very deep, limited opinion, stepping into this open-ended magnificence of the full vista of your life's experience. And you'll see the 18th gene key on the right-hand side, the 18.6, is the shadow of judgment. So now what we need to do is to step out of any judgment, any set opinions we have, and allow all of this to flow out in our lives. The vocation sphere, the 56.6, is what we're doing today, because the 56 is all about entertainment, but with a point. So what we are doing today is exactly the vocation for this gene key. It is basically saying that we now are going to enrich our lives with our spiritual self. We are going to become intoxicated by spirit, and we're going to do it by entertaining. So what we're doing today is we're being entertained by our musicians. Hopefully you're being entertained by me, but there's a point behind it, which is to open up to our true spiritual destination. So I haven't actually done a meditation, so I'm going to do a very quick moment in time as that time has flashed by. So just drop down with your eyes closed into your belly, into your solar plexus. And just breathe deeply and gently through your solar plexus, softening the edges of your belly. And just set the intention that you're going to release from inside you all those elements of your life that are complete, that are over, that are done with. Letting them go in good grace, with no resentment, no regrets. Retaining the experience and the wisdom, but letting go of the emotional entanglement. Letting go of the past. This is that time to completely let go. And then move up into your heart center. And now you're setting this really clear intention for your true path forward. Connecting to your true divine self, your authentic self, your exquisite self. Being true to you without any interference or expectations from anyone else. And the answer to it all is through synchronicity. Paying close attention to what shows up, what some people would call coincidence, but it isn't. And when you recognize synchronicity, then you're demonstrating to the universe that you comprehend the interconnectedness of all things. And when you do that, the synchronicities will get even bigger and even more striking. And then you follow them, and they'll lead you down that path to your future self, to your potential enlightenment in this lifetime. We are stepping into the golden age of the Aquarian age, and it's beginning right now. So take this opportunity to be true to yourself, loving your life, loving yourself, and stepping into this frequency of universal love. It's a gold frequency that you can now embed in your heart and hold it deeply embedded, a beautiful golden elixir of loving light, which you can then emanate out into the world. It's an endless supply, so let it flow through you and out into your world. And now when you're ready and centered, grounded, just gently open your eyes. And I will better close there. That time went very quickly. Thank you.